Okay, so for this example, I'm going to make a smiley face for you guys just to show you how I kind of think through it and how I would use Desmos in order to move the conic section graphs around in order to get the picture that I want. So if I'm going to draw a smiley face, I'm going to start with a circle. I'm going to center my circle at the origin, so I'm just going to use x squared plus y squared so that I'm right at the origin. And I want my radius to be probably about to 4, so I'm going to make it equal to 4 squared. If I wanted it to be a little bit bigger, I could maybe go back and say, okay, I'll do 4.5 squared. Makes it a little bit bigger. And then, I don't know about you, but to me, a smiley face should not be purple. I think it should be yellow. My closest option here is orange, and the way I got to this is I just clicked right on the color that they assigned me, and I held down until the color options popped up. So I'll go with orange because that's as close to yellow as I can possibly get. I could also, if I wanted to, change it to be a dotted line so that I can just give it a little bit different design, but I'm going to stay with solid design because going straight up general smiley face here. So now the next thing I need is an eye, and I think I want the eye to be right about here. And obviously an eye, I'm going to use a circle. So I'm going to say x plus 2 squared, and remember I used the plus because that moves me the opposite direction when I'm horizontal. And then I'm going to move it up 2 as well. So that's going to be plus y, and instead of going plus 2, I want to go minus 2 here because it's the opposite. Squared equals, and I'm just going to guess and start with 1. Now, not bad, but personally I think it looks a little lopsided, and the eyeball is way too big. So the first thing I'm going to do is backspace that radius of 1 and try a 0.5, and I like that better. And then if I wanted to move the eyeball around a little bit, I'm just going to adjust my center here. So instead of being all the way over at -2, I'm going to shift it to 1.75, and I'm going to move it down to maybe 1.5. Yeah, that looks better. So that's more where the eyeball would be on a smiley face. Now I want to do basically the exact same thing for the other eye. So I'm going to copy this and I'm going to paste it into the next equation. But I know I want it to be on the other side, so I'm going to make it a minus there, which moves it right over. I also don't want him to have red eyes, so I'm going to change that to black. And now the last thing I have left is to do a smile for his face, which I'm going to use a parabola to do that. So I'm going to do y equals, and I'm just going to put in the x squared so that I can then move it around and transform it how I want it to be. So I definitely want it to be down probably like, I'm going to go to -2 first and see how I like that. So I'll do a -2. And it's definitely way too skinny, so I know from transformations that if I want to make this a wider graph, I'm going to put a fraction in here. Instead of typing in a fraction, I'm just going to put in 0.5, which isn't bad, but it's still a little too skinny for my liking, so I'm going to make it 0.25. Remember, the smaller the decimal or the smaller the fraction, the wider it'll get. So I like that, but personally I don't want his smile going on forever, so I'm going to restrict this domain. And the way I'm going to do that is at the end of the equation that I just typed in, I'm going to hit space, and then I'm going to put in a bracket. And since I only want it to go from here to, I think these points are good, I'm going to say my y values are going to go from -2 until 0. So I want -2 is less than or equal to y, which is less than or equal to 0. And then I'm going to close those brackets, which cuts my graph off. You can also restrict the x values. Oop, I don't want that I want it to be black. You can also restrict the x values. If I was going to do that, I would just have to look at what these points were and use my actual x coordinates. So I would have used negative 2.828 to 2.828 with an x in between. I just easily, by looking at it, could see that my y values were negative 2 and 0. So instead of looking at what these 2 points were and using those decimals, that's why I chose to use the y value. Now, for your project, you're going to also need to include an ellipse in here and a hyperbola somewhere. So when you're doing that, make sure that your picture has all of the requirements. Look back at the rubric. And then when you're done, you're just going to take a screenshot of your equations, a screenshot of your picture, and put it right into that Google Slides so that I can go in and grade it on the rubric for you. All right. Ooh.